The room felt smaller than it should have, like the walls were slowly leaning in, pressing down on every breath she took. The lights above flickered once, just enough to remind her how fragile everything was, and the sound of distant sirens bled through the thick glass windows, like a memory she could not escape. Fear had drained the strength from her body, leaving only resignation behind. She lowered her eyes, steadying her shaking hands, and in a voice that carried more exhaustion than terror, she begged for it to end quickly. In that moment, when hope seemed completely gone, the single dad standing across from her made a decision that would shatter everything the powerful CEO watching from the shadows thought he understood about courage, humanity, and sacrifice. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet strength of ordinary people, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories like this, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from today. Michael Carter had never imagined his life leading to this moment. He was not a hero by title or position. He was a widowed father who worked night shifts as a security supervisor to keep food on the table for his 8-year-old son, Ethan. His life revolved around school lunches, overdue bills, and memories of a wife lost far too soon. Every decision he made carried the weight of responsibility because one wrong step could mean losing the only family he had left. Yet, here he was, standing in a private corporate building owned by one of the most powerful CEOs in the city, caught in a situation that felt far bigger than him. The woman in front of him, Emily Rhodes, was not a criminal or a threat. She was a junior accountant who had uncovered something she was never meant to see. Numbers that did not add up, funds that disappeared into offshore accounts, evidence that pointed straight to Jonathan Hale, the billionaire CEO known publicly as a visionary and philanthropist. Emily had tried to do the right thing. She had copied the files, planned to report them, and trusted the system to protect her. Instead, the system delivered her into a silent room, guarded by men who followed orders without questions. Jonathan Hale watched from behind a glass wall, his tailored suit immaculate, his expression calm and detached. To him, this was not personal. It was business. Problems were meant to be removed efficiently, without noise or delay. Michael was only there because fate had placed him on the night shift, because his supervisor had called in sick, and because he had been assigned to escort a guest who was never supposed to leave the building. Hale assumed Michael would follow instructions like everyone else. He had underestimated the weight of a father's heart. Michael saw something in Emily that stopped him cold. It was not just fear. It was the look of someone who had already said goodbye to life. He thought of Ethan, of how his son clung to him every morning before school, afraid that one day his father might not come back. The thought tore through him like a blade. He realized that if he did nothing, he would be teaching his son that survival mattered more than doing what was right. That lesson would haunt him forever. The challenge Michael faced was not physical strength or courage alone. It was the crushing pressure of power. Jonathan Hale controlled everything in that building, from the cameras to the men with weapons. Michael knew that one wrong move could cost him his job, his freedom, or his life. And yet, in that unbearable silence, something inside him shifted. He remembered the promise he had made to his wife at her hospital bed, that he would raise Ethan to be a good man, no matter the cost. That promise became his anchor. Michael did not rush or shout. He moved with deliberate calm, placing himself between Emily and the guards. His actions were simple, almost unremarkable on the surface, but heavy with meaning. He disabled the security feed using an old override code he had learned years ago and never thought he would use. He sent a silent alert to an internal emergency channel, one that automatically flagged external authorities if triggered under certain conditions. It was a risk that could not be undone. His hands trembled, but his resolve did not. From behind the glass, Jonathan Hale's confidence began to crack. This was not how things were supposed to go. People like Michael were predictable. They were supposed to be afraid. But what Hale saw instead was a man who had already accepted the consequences, a man who valued another person's life more than his own safety. For the first time in decades, Hale felt something unfamiliar stir in his chest. Doubt. Time stretched painfully as footsteps echoed through the hallway. Emily, who had moments ago been ready to accept her end, felt something change in the air. She did not know what Michael had done, only that someone was finally standing up for her when it mattered most. Tears streamed down her face, not from fear anymore, but from the overwhelming realization that kindness still existed, even in places ruled by greed. When authorities stormed the building, the truth spilled out faster than Hale could contain it. Files were seized, accounts frozen, and the empire he had built on deception began to collapse. Jonathan Hale was escorted out in handcuffs, his expression hollow, his power reduced to nothing in a matter of minutes. The CEO, who once believed he controlled every outcome, was left staring at the consequences of underestimating a single father with nothing left to lose. Michael lost his job that night. He was questioned, investigated, and suspended for weeks. The uncertainty weighed heavily on him, and there were nights when he lay awake wondering if he had destroyed his son's future by choosing to do the right thing. But then something unexpected happened. The story leaked to the media. Not the corporate scandal alone, but the role of the quiet security supervisor who had refused to look away. Public support poured in. Emily came forward, telling the world how Michael's actions had saved her life. Donations were raised. Job offers followed. One foundation even offered to cover Ethan's education. Michael realized that while doing the right thing often comes at a cost, it also plants seeds that grow in ways you never expect. Months later, Michael watched his son play in the park, laughing freely under the open sky. The weight he had carried for so long finally began to lift. He understood then that heroism was not about strength or recognition. It was about showing up when it mattered most, even when you are terrified. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel so these stories can reach more people who believe in humanity. And before this story ends, tell us in the comments what part moved you the most and why. It truly means a lot. Michael Carter never sought to change the world, but in choosing compassion over fear, he changed everything for one woman, one child, and perhaps even for those watching, who now believe that even the smallest act of courage can break the strongest chains.